So it is Wednesday, May 7th, also known as the 9th of ER. And I'm sitting here in the Ramban and I'm kind of bored. So I thought I'd make it a little more interesting for myself, possibly for anybody who looks on my blog. And I'm going through the Daf Yomi in the Artscroll, and I thought maybe I'd just read it a video and upload it to YouTube, and hopefully Artscroll won't sue me for using their material. And I'd just like to say that I don't agree or disagree with what I'm reading. I'm simply reading it and out of boredom videoing it, and because it's going to be a relatively long video, going to put it on to YouTube. I'm in the middle of 6A3 English version, not the Hebrew version, to enable myself to understand what I'm actually reading. I'm using the English version, although sometimes I do find the Hebrew version to be easier to understand. Okay, I am up to the Chitema, which is second line. Chitema, ki hechi deshamat le befolos. Perhaps you will say in defense of this source that just as you have learned from your concerning him regarding mixed spots that they combine in order of intensity, hachi shamat le becholok. So too have you in effect learned concerning him what his view is regarding pure white spots. Note 20. For there is no reason to assume that the laws for pure white and for pasuch are different. Still, you have no proof. For regarding a mixed spot itself, have you indeed learned concerning Rabbi Akiva that they combine in order of intensity? 21. Rabbi Chanina certainly seems to say this. The following Mishnah indicates otherwise. Also, please don't ask me questions of what I'm reading, because I tend to forget almost immediately after reading it. Sometimes if I read a whole book, I remember certain things, conversations, I remember certain things, especially if they're very poignant. Sometimes if they're hurtful. My memory, my brain, not so good. I don't have the best brain. Vatanya, why have we learned differently in the following Mishnah? Note 22, the correct reading of V'hatnan for we learned in the Mishnah. Bach, Mishnah cited here, is found in Negaim 1-2. Rekiva Omer, Rekiva says, Adamdam Shabazet Shabazet, the reddish variety of this one and that one. It's 23 and 24. Adamdam can be used as a reference for Pasuch. Note 24, i.e. of the first two pure white shades as Ra stated in the list, Rashi. From the way Rabbi Akiva concludes shortly, it becomes evident which two pure white shades are first on Rabbi Akiva's list. Rabbi Kiyayin Hamazik B'mayim is like wine diluted with water. Note 25. In the preceding section of the Mishnah, not seen here, Rabbi Shmuel likens the Baheres Pasuch to wine diluted with snow, and the lime Pasuch to blood diluted with milk. Both these mixtures yield shades of white that are strongly tinged with red. Rabbi Akiva argues that the appearance of both pasuchs is like wine diluted with water, in which mixture the redness is not very strong. Skipping the brackets. Brackets goes all the way to the end of the note. Okay, Ella Shabaheres Azik Kishaleg. Except that the whiteness of the Baheres Pasuch is intense like snow despite the reddish hue, Vishal Sid Deha Hemena, whereas the whiteness of the lime Pasuch is dimmer. Note 26, Rashi, we see from this conclusion, amplifying the statement of this one and that one, the first two shades on our Akiva's list are the snow white Baheres and the lime of the sanctuary. Moving on to 6b1, and take another bite of my apple strudel thing from La Penelon. Delicious. Probably not good for my teeth, but it is delicious. And I got a black coffee, Turkish coffee, and a cup of water. I'm trying to stay hydrated because it's really hot outside. And also really enjoying my watch. I didn't think the gray band would work with it, but I do. My eyes say it's beautiful. I don't know if you say the same, but I think so. And it's what I wear, so I don't think it's offensive. As long as the clothing isn't offensive, I think it should be up to the person who wears it. But what do I know? I'm not a fashion guru. Just an idiot from Toronto who's trying to make a life in Israel. Trying to find a wife and financial miracles and come into my own home and some sort of successful business. We should pray, right? I think there's Tehillim in that book over there. I'm going to go read a chapter. I need all the prayers I can get. That's not Tehillim, that's... Okay, here's Tehillim. Chapter 23. Mizmal David Magro Sar, Binus Dashi Abitina, Amin Novus in Aleni, Nabi Shovi, and Said Manchmo, come kill these most of the Rocky at the Modi, Shutam Shantera, Ima Inakamoni, Tarl von the show on Nega's right, Shant of Shem Roshi, Kozo, Voy, after the Hazard, Funiko, Mikaya, Shatavis, Nile, Ulrich Kamim. That's the chapter talking about, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, will fear no evil, because God is with me. I am not like that. I am afraid to be many places. Yep, I am a wuss. It's one of the reasons I want a wife. I want somebody to hold on to. I suppose if I was gay, I'd want, some big guy to hold on to. I suppose if I had really big faith, I'd, want to hold on to God. But I don't have that much faith, and I'm a very simple guy. Well, maybe I'm not that simple. I don't know. Leave it up to God to figure it out. Assuming he, she, it exists. Really don't have the ability to figure out one way or the other. I'd go to university, but I don't think I could pass a course. I can barely remember, half of this stuff after I read it a bunch of times. V'imisa. Now, if it is so that as you maintain that Rabbi Akiva lists the four shades in order of intensity, shall tzemer deha himena mibayilei. Then he should have said instead of in the Mishnah, the whiteness of the wool pasuch is dimmer. Note 1, for in the order of intensity, wool follows the snow white beharas. From the order that Rabbi Akiva does use, we see that he lists the four shades not in order of intensity, but in the order of the Mishnah in the guide. Beharas is white like snow. Secondary to it is the lime of the sanctuary, meaning that they combine in that order. See Rashi to 6a. I'm not going back. This page is 3 pages, and that includes notes. So, yeah. Gemara answers, Amri, they say, Ein Halchinami, yes, so it is that Rabbi Akiva indeed concludes in the Mishnah that not that lime is dimmer, but that wool is dimmer. Tanya, for it is taught in the Brisa that Rabbi Yonassan Omer, Rabbi Yonassan says concerning Rabbi Akiva's statement is recorded in the Mishnah cited above, Leish Omer Rabbi Akiva shel sid deha himena, it is not true that Rabbi Akiva said that the whiteness of the lime pasuch is dimmer, Ella shel tzemer deha himena. Rather, what he really said was that the whiteness of the wool pasuch is dimmer. Until now, it was simply assumed that a Baharis is the whitest of the four shades. The Gemara now shows how this is known. Minolan de Baharis Azahi. And from where is it known to us that Baharis is the most intense white of all? Amar Abai. Abai said, Amar Krab. For the verse states, Being Baharis Lavana he, and if it is a white Baharis, note 2, Leviticus 13:4, the Gemara is expounding the verse, extra word he, it is. Which indicates, he Lavana, Bein Acheres Lavana, it is white, and no other shade is as white. Gemara states a brisa, Tan Rabban, and the rabbis taught in the brisa, Baharis Amukka, the Tzara'is affliction of Baharis appears to be deep. Chenu Omer, and so it says, Mareh Omok Minor, and its appearance is deeper than the skin. Note 3, Ibid, verse 25, although the affected patch of skin is not actually lower than the surrounding skin, the discoloration makes it appear to be lower. What is the meaning of deeper than the skin? Similar to the appearance of the sun, which is deeper than the shade around it. Note 4, a lighter color gives the illusion of being lower than the darker area that surrounds it. Rashi Leviticus 13:3. See Ramban to this verse, which elaborates on the factors which contribute to this illusion and on other factors which lessen this effect. I'm going to go see if this is... I'm going to go get the Artscroll Ramban and see if it's... in this week's Torah reading, because if it is, that fulfills a thought I had like a minute ago that I kind of wanted to read something from the Ramban in the Artscroll while doing this. So I'll be back in a second. That was note 4. So I'm up to note 4. Put my glasses there so I can be in my place. Note 4. Be back in a minute. Yeah, there's somebody studying. I'm actually reading Telem right below the Artscroll Rambans in the other room, so I'm gonna have to put that off for now. But if you want to look it up yourself, it's Ramban 13:3 in Leviticus. Vayikra. Okay, seis. What is the meaning of seis? Ein seis ela gavol. Seis denotes nothing other than raised. Chenu Omer, and so it says, I'll call harim haramim, I'll call hagos anizos. Upon all the high mountains and upon all the raised up hills. Isaiah 2:14. The words seis and hanisaos both come from the same root nis nasa, which denotes something high. Seis gets its name from the fact that the illusion given by it is that of being higher, less recessed, in relation to the surrounding skin, than the corresponding illusion of Baharis. By the way, if for some reason somebody's watching this and they have the means and they want to be generous, I really like the Tag Heuer WAH 1010, and there's a similar model. It's not exactly the same. It's Army Green, the Tag Heuer Formula 1 Army Green. They're kind of similar. I featured them on my blog previously. They're both, in my opinion, beautiful watches. I don't think I've ever seen them in person, but I really, really do like them. One day I'd like to have a fantastic collection of watches. And I suppose if I had the means, open a watch store with the various different watches that I find to be beautiful and only sell. Although if I was really, really rich, maybe I'd just give them out. Maybe. Let's be reasonable here. I'd have to be really, really rich. Anybody I meet, let's say if I was a billionaire, anybody I meet, free Tag Heuer, free Breitling Heritage, Super Ocean Heritage 2, Black. The Cartier tank, the fake that I have. The IWC Liberty Prince. Mark Alfred's got the real one. I've had like 2 or 3 fakes. I do like this corrugate in like 3 or 4 different versions. Kind of like the Bernie watch, I'm not sure. Luminox Atacama, field date 1925. What else is there? Oh yeah, the Omega Seamaster. Yeah, that is a very nice watch. Kind of like the Tudors, not sure. Don't like Rolex. I don't know. Just doesn't speak to me. Not my style. Okay, I'm so far off topic. Moving along. 12 minutes into this video and I'm getting nowhere. Time. Note 4. Seis. What is the meaning of seis? Ein seis illa gvo. Seis denotes nothing other than raised. So it says, Al kol harim haramim val gvos as nisos, upon all the high mountains and upon all the raised hills. Note 5. Seis 2:14. The word seis and nisos both come from the same root nasa, which denotes something high. Seis gets its name from the fact that the illusion given by it is that of being higher, less precise, in relation to the surrounding skin than the corresponding illusion of Beheres, see Rashi 5b, Diver Maskell, Shnia. Sapagas, what is the meaning of sapagas? Sapagas el tefela. Sapagas denotes nothing other than subsidiary. Okay, and so it says, V'amar sfacheni na, and he will say, annex me sfacheni, please. Note 6, 1 Samuel 2:36. Eli the Kohen Gadol is being informed by the prophet that the high priesthood will depart from his family and will pass to someone from another line of Kohanim. Eli's progeny will be forced to come before the new Kohen Gadol and plead, annex me sfacheni, please, to one of the Kohanic shifts. I allow me to be subsidiary to them. Hence, the root sapach means. There's a spelling mistake here. It says M-U-E-A-N-S. Usually I go through my blog at the end of the night to see if I have any typos, spelling mistakes, words I doubled, words I skipped. Subsidiary, as well as accordingly, means a subsidiary affliction, tolada. However, this is a gigantic book, and I write a page. And it's usually pretty stupid stuff that you don't have to go through and make sure it actually makes sense. Yeah, because usually it's just my brain. Like I said earlier, one of the purposes of my blog was self-therapy. How many psychiatrists, psychologists, and social workers, and psychoanalysts, and hypnotists can a guy have before he says, they're not doing it? Yeah, I know what I want. I just don't know how to get it. The Gemara asks, we find that seis is a subsidiary. Note 7. Since Sapagas is stated in relation to seis, see 6a notes 1 and 2. No thank you right now. Stfela lebaheres minalan, but from where may we let's try that again. But from where may we derive that Beheres has a subsidiary as well? Note 8. This question was asked only according to the rabbis at the time of Nagaim 1:1. Who maintained that Beheres is a subsidiary as well, but according to Rabbi Kiva, Beheres does not have a subsidiary. Rashi, seat 6a, note 2. Gemara says, Amir Rezer said, Nemra Livana Bas Eis, the word Livana, white, is mentioned in the context of Seis, note 9, Leviticus 30:10. The number Livana Beheres, and the word Livana, white, is mentioned in the context of Beheres, note 10, Ibid, verse 4. Ma Livana Amura Bas Eis, Yesh La Tefela, just as Livana is mentioned in the context
context of Seis is subsidiary, which is egg membrane white. Avavana Amura Baharis Yesh Latfil. So too the Vavana is mentioned in the context of Baharis as a subsidiary, which is lime white. A Brisa provides a different source. Masnisa Tana. In the Brisa we learned Heitel Hakasul Sapakas Bain Seis Baharis. Scripture placed the word Sapakas between the words Seis and Baharis. Note 11. If a person will have on the skin of his flesh the Seis, Sapakas, or Baharis, Ibid verse 2, the word Sapakas thus interposes between Seis and Baharis. To teach you that Kashem should fail the Seis, just as there is a subsidiary to Seis, Kach fail the Baharis, so is there a subsidiary to Baharis. Mentioned the Gaim 1:1 cited on 5b states Seis but Ketzemer Lovan, the color of Seis is similar to wool white. The Gemara inquires, My Tzemer Lovan, what is meant by wool white? Amar Bivi. Amar Rav Asi, Rabibi said in the name of Rav Asi, Tzemer Noki Ben Yomo, Shemechabdin Bo the Melas. This refers to the clean white wool of a day-old newborn lamb, around which is tied a covering to protect it from dirt for future use as material for a woolen garment. Note 12. When a lamb is born, its fleece is licked clean by its mother, and it is never whiter than at that moment. To preserve the whiteness, a piece of leather is bound around the lamb and clasped together with hooks, where it remains until the wool is sheared. Rashi see also Rashi to Ezekiel 27:18. See also Shabbos 45a. Ace is compared to the whiteness of this wool. Rashi. It's interesting that they have anglicized the names of the books. They've used the Christian words. Leviticus is Vayikra. Isaiah is Yeshaya or Yeshayahu. Samuel is Shmuel. Yeah. Also Ezekiel, Yechezkel. I don't know why they've done that. Was Artscroll translated for the Christian world? Or for Jews living in the Christian world? I don't know. Just reading it, just dawned on me. Because Baharis is written out, transliterated. And Leviticus is written out, how it's written, as far as I know, in the New Testament. Although, maybe in the New Testament it says Baharis. And a dum-dum in Yirakrak. Shabbos is written out, transliterated. Seis is written out, transliterated. Rashi is transliterated. I don't know what their thinking was. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I just don't know. I really don't know. I don't know much about anything. I'm one of the most empty-headed people I know, other than when I'm paranoid. Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're on after you. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, moving along. Seis, Ketzemer Lovan. The color of Seis is similar to wool white. The Gemara inquires, My Tzemer Lovan, what is meant by wool white? Amar Bibi, Amar Asi, or Bibi said the name of Asi, Tzemer Naki Ben Yomo, Shemechabnin Bo Lemelas. This refers to the clean white wool of a day-old newborn lamb, around which is tied a covering to protect it from dirt for future use as material for a woolen garment. Note 12. When a lamb is born, its fleece is licked clean by its mother, and is never whiter than at that moment. To preserve the whiteness, a piece of leather is bound around the lamb and clasped together with hooks, where it remains until the wool is sheared. Rashi, Sales Rashi, Ezekiel 27:18, Sales Shabbos 45a. Seis is comparable to the whiteness of this wool. Rashi. Above, Rabbi Chanina illustrated Rabbi Kiva's view with an analogy. Now he illustrates the view of the rabbis. Amar Rabbi Chanina said, Moshel de Rabbanan Lema Davardoma, analogy for illustrating the rabbi's view regarding the order in which the four shades combine. To what may the matter be compared? L'srei Malchei, L'srei Iparchei. To two kings and two governors, each king having his own governor. Malkosh Zed, L'malam Malkosh Zed. The king of this governor is more prominent than the king of that governor. And the governor of this king, i.e. the first king, is more prominent than the governor of that king, i.e. the second king. Note 13. Paris is this comparison is the first king, and its governor is lime white. The king in this pair is more prominent than Seis, which is the king in the other pair, where the governor is egg membrane white. According to this analogy, the order of intensity is Baharis, Seis, lime white, egg membrane white. This analogy illustrates that lime, the subsidiary of the highest one, is nonetheless lower than Seis. Rashi. I should get a job reading to people. It's one of the few things I'm relatively good at. I don't know if there's any market for reading to people, but I know how to read. It's one of the few things I actually know how to do. Even playing poker, it's more like, am I doing it? Am I winning? Am I playing? I don't know what's going on. You just do it past the time. It's I don't know, a paying job. I'm not so sure a paying job would be the best thing for me, but whatever. Oh, wow. I also had the idea yesterday that if I actually had a wife, my desire for sex would go away. It's ironic, you know? But it's kind of like food. You kind of need it. I think. I mean, I could be wrong. You'd have to speak to a nutritionist and a dietitian and a biologist, etc., to find out if we actually need food. It's just habit, as far as I know, from childhood. Eat. And from babyhood, drink. Sex kind of seems to me to be a natural bodily function, as far as I understand it from Torah, from the Bible, that God says, go out and procreate. Don't procreate with somebody who isn't, your significant other, and don't step out on your significant other. I don't know, the books are all here in English. It comes in Spanish and French and Hebrew. Probably in other languages too, I don't know. Don't take my word for it, read it yourself. I give up. Doesn't make any sense to me. Women seem to be anti-sex. Into relationships with me. I don't have a wife. I have a bed. I think I'd stop complaining about not having a woman if, beautiful, wonderful, loyal, intelligent woman agreed to be my wife. I'm not so sure how we'd afford all the stuff we need in life, but at minimum, I'd stop complaining that I don't have a woman and I'm not getting laid. Preferably a woman who's like 5'2", 5'3", give or take 100 pounds, BC cup breasts, kind of small toes like mine. Female version of me, small-ish. I don't think that's unreasonable. There's like 8 billion people on the planet or something. I don't know how many Jews, like 16 million Jews, give or take. Half of them are women. Figure minimum 10% of that are within my age group. Figure 10% of that are not married. Just gotta find, one. There's more than one out there. There's lots of them out there. It's just a matter of finding one that finds me attractive and I find her attractive. I mean, getting along is important too, right? And heck, for sex, you don't even have to find each other really that attractive. It's preferable, that way you can spend time with each other with the lights on and outside and say, hey, I like this person. They're a good person. I like them, physically attractive, mentally attractive, financially attractive. I'm not. But physically attractive, mentally attractive, emotionally attractive, possibly spiritually attractive. I don't know, because I'm spiritually kind of a nutcase. I'm just rambling on. I barely really covering any ground in here. Oh, nuts. So they're going to have mincha in the next room. I don't know if I should join them or not. Coffee time, right? Only a little bit left. Gemara asks, but this seems to illustrate Rabbi Akiva's view that the 4 shades combine in order of intensity, this one above this one, and this one above this one. Gemara therefore modifies the statement of Rabbi Chanina. Rather, the opinion of the rabbis can be compared to the following: the king of this governor is more prominent than his own governor, and the king of that governor is more prominent than his own governor. 14. Comparison is that just as each governor follows his king, so do each Tolada follows itself and combines with it. Gemara says a different analogy to the opinion of the rabbis. Rav Adabar Abba Amar. Rav Adabar Abba says, "Go on Malka ve'al Kafta Rufila ve'Reish Galusa." For example, a king al Kafta, Rufila and Reish Galusa. Notes 15, 16, 17. Al Kafta is a high ruling official similar to a king but lower. Rufila is the title given to a subordinate of the king. Isn't anybody under the king subordinate to the king? Reish Galuso, Exarch, is the title for the person who served as the political leader of the Babylonian Jewry from the onset of the Babylonian exile until the 12th century CE. He enjoyed a semi-royal status and was a subordinate of the Al-Kafta. Rashi. If these 4 dignitaries paraded one behind the other, they would parade in this order. I only noticed 3. Moving along, Gemara cites a different analogy to the opinion of the rabbis. Ravada bar Abba Omar, Ravada bar Abba says, Malka val kafta rufila v'reish galusa. For example, a king al kafta rufila and reish galusa. Again, the Gemara asks, this seems to illustrate rather Rabbi Akiva's view that the four shades combine in order of identity, this one above this one. The analogy is therefore modified. Elgon Malka v'rufila val kafta v'reish galusa. Rather, the opinion of the rabbis can be compared to the following. For example, a king, rufila, al kafta, and reish galusa. Note 18. I.e., when they parade in pairs, the king with his subordinate close behind him, and the Al-Kafta with his subordinate behind him, Rashi. This then is comparable to pairs with its Tolada and Seis with its Tolada in accordance with the view of the rabbis. Ravad offers another analogy to the opinions of the rabbis. Rava Omar. Rava says, Kagan Shavur Malka the Caesar, for example, King Shapur and the Caesar, each having a subordinate. Amr li Rapapa the Rava. Rapapa said to Rava, Hai minahu odif. Which one is more prominent? Shapur or Caesar? Notes 19 and 20. Shapur was the emperor of the Sassanid dynasty that ruled in Persia and Mesopotamia. And note 20, the Roman emperor, which was Caesar. Rashi, the most prominent of the two rulers and his subordinate correspond to Beher's and its Tolada, and the other one and his subordinate correspond to Seis and its Tolada. However, Rava did not specify which ruler is the more prominent of the two. I think I'm going to go for a smoke in a minute. Which is probably not good for my throat, but my stress levels are rising, and it's been at least 26 minutes since I've gone for a smoke. Which one is more prominent, Shapur or Caesar? You eat, I live in a forest. Note 21. Your question is reminiscent of a person who has hidden all his life in a forest and does not know what is happening in the world. Surely you should know that the authority of Rome is greater. In fact, Rapapa realized this, but his question was elicited. Okay. In fact, Rav Papa realized this, but his question was elicited by Rava's mentioning the name of King Shapur before that of Caesar. Rava did so because he was a Persian subject and was afraid of reprisals and did not do so. Yesh tilim basof.
התהילים כאן?
יש תהילים בסוף.
מה בסוף? כל התהילים?
נראה לי.
מא' עד הסוף?
אני לא בדקתי אם יש הכל, אבל נראה לי שיש הכל.
יש. תודה רבה.
אין בעד מה. Yeah, there's nothing like being semi-useful in life. Hey, you like my Star of David hat? Yeah. I'm not a very useful person. Nope. Okay. Pokazi Tiva Deman Sagi Balma. Go out into the world and see whose authority is greater in the world. Note 22. The word Tiva literally means a minted coin. The connotation is see whose coin buys more merchandise in the world. Ben Yoyada, see also Megillah 14b. Dichsiv, as is written, Viseichul Kol Ara Usidushina Visadkina. It shall devour the whole earth and tread upon it and break it into pieces. Note 23. Daniel 7:23, describing the fourth empire in Daniel's vision. Amr Rabbi Yochanan said, Zu Romi Chayeves, this is the wicked Rome. Shetiva Yatza B'chol Olam Kulo, whose authority is spread out throughout the entire world. Note 24. It is thus evident and clear to all that the power of Caesar is greater than that of Shapur. Accordingly, Caesar and his subordinate will correspond to Beheris and his Talada lime white. Shapur and his subordinate will correspond to Seis and his Talada egg membrane white. Time for another bite of my sort of apple strudel. Okay.
Also, think I'm going to take a pause and go for a pee. But I got to get to the end of this paragraph. The Gemara now concludes a series of analogies to the opinion of rabbis with the analogy of Ravina. Ravina Amar. Ravina said, Gon glima da Amar de shachake. The opinion of the rabbis is analogous to a new white woolen garment and a worn-out woolen garment. Sedina de chisna de shachake. A new white linen garment and a worn-out linen garment. 25. The whiteness of a new woolen garment is much brighter than the whiteness of an old woolen garment, and the whiteness of a new linen garment is much brighter than the whiteness of an old linen garment. Moreover, the brightness of a new woolen garment and a new linen garment are more closely matched than either one with its own worn-out counterpart. Correspondingly, Beharis is much brighter than its Tolada lime white, and Seis is much brighter than its Tolada egg memory white, while the two Avos, Beharis and Seis, are almost equal in brightness. Rashi, Sidros Chaim, discusses each of the analogies cited here at length. I won't be doing that, but you feel free to. Okay, I'm going to grab a mint. I'm going to walk you to the bathroom, and then I'm going to turn off the video. When I step outside with my cigarette, I'm going to start uploading this and a new video because I have more gibberish to share. Because I am just that interesting. I'll make fun of myself. But I don't like being made fun of by others. I really don't. But I do like to make fun of myself sometimes. I do put myself down quite a bit. Alright, let's head to the bathroom. Oh, joy.